Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the preparation for MECAT, Media and Entertainment Creative Aptitude Test. Yes, you can get admission in your favorite, your uh, beloved institution and learn from there at the maximum possible scholarship. Yes, you can earn up to 100% scholarship when you get admission once you appear for MECAT. And whatever you score, your percentile will be equivalent to your scholarship over there. So today we have a workshop on understanding music production and sound engineering with our expert, Mr. P Vanissery. He's a musician, composer, guitarist, pianist, and trained audio engineer specialized in different genres of music, including pop, hip hop, etc. Uh, he's a certified with Rock School of London music production grade and masters in music with specialization in audio engineering. So let's quickly invite him and start the workshop. Welcome, sir. Welcome on this platform.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Welcome everyone. Yeah.
It's over to you. You have the rights to share screen.
Oh, thank you so much. As ma'am has already introduced me, I'm a music producer as well as a musician. So I've been doing music for around 6 to 7 years now. So before starting music, I used to be a guitarist. I have played for bands also. I played piano also. I've run my own studio also, done many jingle work, production, composing, ballads. So today I'm going to share the experience of music production and sound engineering. What is this, and how you can get into this if you are a newcomer for this. What is the basic thing that we need for music production? So I'm going to start with music production. So I'm going to show you for this specific session. I'm going to use my software Logic Pro X, but this can be done with any other software, which is also called DAW. So before proceeding, I'll start sharing. We'll proceed with some understand. So music production, what is music? So before going into music production and sound engineering, we have to first understand what is music. Because without music, there is no production. Without the understanding of the aesthetics and the concepts of music, you cannot do production. So music is first, you needed to understand the concept of music. So how does music work? What is music? Anything from a noise to a bird chirping, a horn, a wind blowing, everything is sound, and through which music is formed, and which is like frequencies. In technical terms, if we talk about in physics, what is sound? Sound is amplitude and frequency. Combination of frequency is the pitch, the amplitude is the loudness. With the combination of that, we can create music. So that is very interesting. So how do we create music? So if I give you an insight of music, we can divide it into two parts. That is melody and rhythm. With the combination of both of them, you can create a song. You can produce some music. So before that, you have to understand what is melody and how it is made. So if you're producing a melody, you first need to know music is made in a scale. So what is a scale now? Now that's also an interesting question. What is the scale? So let me make you understand what is a scale. So I'm using my software Logic Pro, and I'm using the help of a MIDI. So let me show you what are scales and how music are made. So we are going to with this seminar, with this session, I'll help you and we'll try to make a piece of music. So I'm using a piano over here. So maybe all of you can hear what I'm playing. Yeah. So what is music? So in music, we have certain notes. See over here, this is a piano. So we have around 12 notes in music. But when we are composing a music or a piece, it's inside some specific notes. That is 7 notes. Everyone must have studied in school. Sare Gama Pada Nisa. Or in Western we talk it like Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti Do. So basically, we're going to cover. We have to play a scale. So this is a major scale. Just like that, we also have minor scale. A minor is supposed to be sad, a major is supposed to be happy. Not necessarily, but if we go and we look at it from a beginner perspective, it is supposed to be like that. But of course, this is not 100%. You could, of course, manipulate it. So I'm going to make a scale over here. That's a C major scale. Why I'm going to choose a C major scale? Because C major scale is supposed to be not the easiest scale because it has all the right keys. So we have total 12 notes in music, but in a scale we have 7 notes. So with the help of the scale, we can create things called chords. Chords are called triads also. Combination of 3 notes. So if I'm having a scale, for an example, I'm doing in a key of C and I combine. So C scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And if I combine C, E, and G, I get a chord. And if I figure out different chords, and so I'm using a MIDI, external MIDI for performing this. You could also draw it. And the songs you hear, all songs are written inside chords. Like for an example, कहते हैं खुदा ने इस जहां में सभी के लिए किसी ना किसी को बनाया है. So this is a chord progression. The song is in the key of C. The original song is also in the key of C. So with the help of this key, you can create different melodies. So that is going to be interesting. So we have a scale that are 7 notes and we have 7 chords. So if I'll break it down, try to explain it to you more, so I'll show you in a better way so that you'll have a better understanding of it. So there's a scale called C major. C major is made of, I won't be too much technical with it, but still I'll tell you the concepts. Like this is a scale. And if I play these notes in series, is the second note, the third, just the order I'm writing, 5, 4, 5, and we have 6, and we have 7. Okay, and if I combine them, I can create like C, E, G, I can create a chord. Different combination will make me a chord. So these are called triads because we are connecting 3 notes. So this is not very complex, anyone can do. And what's the thing, good thing about production is like you could combine different notes. And you can be wrong, that's okay. So let me get back to my logic here. So now from those scales, I'll create a chords. But before creating chords, that's not only music. Music has to be divided into 2 parts. Those parts will be rhythm and melody. Now rhythm consists of one fixed thing that is called BPM. BPM means beat per minute. Melody will have a fixed scale that is supposed to be fixed, and rhythm consists of all the rhythmic element like kick. You know what's a kick, a snare, maybe a hi-hat, or percussions, so different percussions. Anything that we play to create rhythm. And melody, we will have instruments like piano, guitar, synthesizers, anything. Harmonium is also a part of melody, and in fact, vocals is also part of melody. So you will figure out, we have to understand both the things. So before coming to melody, and now I'll talk about rhythm. How's rhythm done? What's a rhythm? So every song has a specific rhythm pattern. So for an example, if I look at the top of this, so this is 90 BPM. That means 90 beats per minute. So if I play it, I'll play it till here. So that's a 90 BPM. Now, if I increase it, it will be faster. And if I increase it more, so you can have any kind of BPM. It's going to be what kind of BPM you're looking for. So I again go with, I want to make something slow, simple. So this is the BPM. We have gone through the scales. Now I'll create a chord progression out of it. That can be any chord progressions. So I'll create. So I'll start with a C major, C, E, G. That will become a C major. And you can also see in this logic tool specifically, you have an option where you can see if the chord you have written is right or not. And I'll try to create a chord progression out of it. So now that's a chord progression. You see, that is the foundation. That is the foundation of music. Now, this is the bed from where we start. So before doing production, we should know the concepts of theory. That is very important, because without theory, it's like you might be able to make music, but not necessarily you will have a more control over it. So yeah, you can make music without theory, but theory is very important. So when you are making it, so this is some music theory. And just like a piano is a melodical instrument, now I'll add a rhythmic instrument. For example, here I'll add a drum kit. So I'm going to use a MIDI this time. So I could create a rhythm. 3, 4, 1. So I'm getting some latency over here. And context them, I don't want this. See, I made a groove over it. So this is, we're making, every music has a time. So this is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I have here some rhythm elements. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and 2, and 3, 4, and 1, and 2. Similarly, I can add more elements. Now these are called layers. This is my layer 1. This is my layer 2. And if I want to make my music rich, I could have more layer. So like now I'll add my bass layer. So this is going to be my bass. This is going to make my music full. Let's go. So I'll select a bass sound. So the good thing about production is like you have everything inside your door. You don't need anyone. You could create from a song from a scratch. See? So I'll just level this out. See? Now this we added 3 layers. Now if I'll add a melody over it, for an example, I'm going to use a percussion instrument called Clock Conspire. So now I have to create or either you could draw it also. I was using a help of a video. Now you have to stay inside your scale. And you can play with it. You can be experimental with this. The one thing that you have to remember is you have to stay inside the scale. Now I've got a loop melody. Now this is going to be my melody now. So I've created a melody over it. So this is how our music is supposed to sound. So like this, we could create a lot of layers. Now I'm going to do a breakthrough with some of the tracks that I have produced, some of the cover songs. We have got original songs also. So I'm going to go through with it. Before going through that, I'll talk to you about something more about music. So let me come back to my slide. So that was the theory part. Those were music theory. If we arranged notes in certain order, we'll figure out. So now we have done rhythm, how rhythm works. We have different patterns. So for music production, we are going to have, if you want to set up your own music production, so what all things you need to have. And talking about music production and sound engineering comprises of music production. It's not separate from music production. Music production has sound engineering. Sound engineering is kind of an element inside music production where we complete our song. For example, I produce a song, records the vocals, everything is going to sound standard. Sound engineering is all about mixing and mastering, where we are going to technically work and create sound more whole, more professional. So it's inside music production. So starting, getting back to the point, main components of a starter setup. So you need to have a computer. It can be a laptop, and computer you are going to have a different varieties. You can have Mac or Windows, but you have to understand the software are going to be very specific. Some softwares they won't run with a Windows. For an example, Logic Pro, it's the software that I was using, and this reference video is a software that is made specifically from Logic, but it doesn't matter. A DAW is just a software. Every software works in a very similar way with a different user interface. Some might have some other features, some might have some different features, but at the end of the day, you are going to achieve your track. Either you make it from any DAWs. So the second thing is, of course, a DAW, digital audio workstation. So we have different options like Logic Pro X, Cubase, FL Studio, Ableton Live, Pro Tools. So these are like different style of softwares. Everything works in a, they all are a complete production suite. So you could make your track from scratch to end. It comprises of recording, mixing, mastering, arrangement. You can do anything with that. After the DW, what do you need? You need an audio interface. Now, what is an audio interface? So how does an audio interface work and what is it? It's basically an analog to digital converters. So an audio interface. For an example, whenever we're speaking, that is called an analog sound. And when it's going into the computer, it's turning into a digital sound. Now it's getting back from the software to your speaker, then it's again an analog. That's why it's called an AD2 and D2A converters. So for the purpose of connecting your microphones, your speakers, we need an audio interface. We need a specific audio interface. We have a different bunch of audio interface in the market because without the help of an audio interface, we cannot connect a microphone with it. There might be some microphones with a 3.5 mm jacks or the microphone that comes with inbuilt with the headphones, but they are not going to sound very professional. If talking about a basic home studio setup, you do need an audio interface. So you could go, we could start with a basic audio interface in the market like Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, Audient ID4, Steinberg UR14. So these are different audio interfaces. Those are going to help you. After that, what do you need? You need a headphones or a monitor speakers or both. It's totally going to depend on your budget. So if you are on a budget, I'll prefer go with the headphones. And we have got different headphones. See, the headphones and monitors that we are going to use in our production is totally different from the monitors or speakers or headphones that you are using. Why they are called monitor headphones or monitor speakers? The only reason are because they are flat. For an example, if I talk about your home audio system, that you might be having a 5.1 channel speaker system at home, or the headphones that a Sony headphone you're using, they cannot, we don't use them in production. Why? Because they all are colored. They have kind of boost. Like they might be more, they might have more low end, they might have more high end. But what we are looking for, we are looking for a flat frequency. Because the real we hear, the more accurate we could hear, the more better we could do. We don't want something that is already been colored. We call it colored in technical terms because they have already been, they have a high end. So my track might sound high bright over there, but technically they are colored. They are not natural. We want natural sound. How is it? How the way I am speaking, I should sound like that only, so that I could process this later in a more better way. So now talking about microphones. Now microphones is a very big topic. So we have got two different type of microphones. One is called a dynamic microphone. So what is a dynamic microphone? And the other type is called a condenser microphone. There are two type of microphone, dynamic and condenser. Other than that, we have also have ribbon microphones. Maybe a tube microphone, which is also part of a condenser microphone. And why, which one to select? It's a very in-depth topic, but I'll cover it from the main overview of it. So a dynamic microphone is useful basically for open sources. Like if you want to use it for a live set of sound, they are cheaper in terms as compared with the condenser microphones. So the phenomena of working of a dynamic microphone is a very bit different as compared to a condenser microphone. So it has a magnet inside it. So when we say something that vibrates and it emulates it and the whole signal converts it and go to your digital audio workstation, or it comes from a speaker. The vibrations is the frequencies which later turns into sound. And a condenser microphone, if I talk about, they work, they have something called a static energy inside them. So that is the reason they need 48-volt additional phantom power. So these are more suitable for studio environment. They are very accurate, more clear, more dynamic range. They are very suitable for studio. That doesn't mean a dynamic microphone is not a good. It's also a good microphone, but people prefer condenser microphone in a studio. But of course, when you are working with a condenser microphone, you need a silent environment to work with it. You cannot work with it or with a very noisy environment because it picks up delicate sounds. These are a bit expensive, as I told already. These are a bit expensive as compared with the dynamic microphone. But although these are quite standard for using in a studio. So talking about dynamic microphone, we have got options like Shure SM57, SM58. They are all the very legendary microphones. They have got a very good sound. They're good. SM57 is good for instruments like guitar, if I'm recording a guitar, and SM58 are good for vocals. And talking about condenser, they have a very wide range, starting from around 6,000, 5,000 Behringer C10U or a Samsung C1 to an Audio Technica NT2020 to a Rode NT1A, a 20,000 microphone, to maybe NT2A, a 28,000 microphone costing, or a AKG C414, a 70,000 microphone, to a U87, which is around 2.5 lakhs microphone. So the higher the price range goes, the more accurate microphone and the more cleaner microphone with a good diaphragm you are going to get. So the recordings are generally going to be sounding, it's going to sound more professional and more clean. So the more flat you get, what the reason behind clean and accurate thing is like the more clean and accurate things you get, the more you can manipulate with it. That is the basic concept behind it. The more you are going to work with it, the more accurate it's going to sound. Now we are going to also need some plugins, which I'm going to cover it afterwards for mixing and mastering, the sound engineering concept, like for reverb, for EQing, for compression, for limiting, for mastering, and every other thing. So now how this equipments are going to set up. So this equipment setup is generally you need to connect your computer with your audio interface and with your speakers and a MIDI. You can connect directly through a USB and you'll be good to go. So these are going to be your basic requirements to set up a production, a home studio setup. Or the more you invest or you want to make it more heavy, you could buy expensive monitors and good audio interface to get the better results. So the more expensive the products, or maybe if you're using a 5-inch monitor, you could buy an 8-inch. And you have got a lot of variety. Monitor starts from around 15,000-17,000 a pair, and it goes in lakhs. It's endless. But if you go for a good one, maybe an A7X, Adam Audio, or a Genelab, so they are going to cost you around 70 to 1 lakh, but it's not necessary. And if you are on a tighter budget, you can go definitely with your headphones. Now I'm going to take you to a project. So this was the concept of a basic setup. Now I'm going to take you back to the music production concept. Before going to music production concepts, I'm going to talk about the concept, the arrangements of songs and everything. So I'm going to open up project. So these are my projects. Okay. So now this is a project. So what is set and how we are going to work with this. So let me start with this. Like this is an example of an arrangement that I'm going to use. Now this is a cover track. So this was a track recorded by one of my friends, Rahul. So I'm going to play this track. So just the vocals. This is a cover track.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा वादा है मेरा वापस ना आऊंगा जिए तो जिए कैसे हाय
So this is the track. So I'm going to rush towards it. So this is a cover track GHGA by Rahul. So the first thing that I generally go with it, I prefer doing that thing first. The first thing that I prefer is like adding chords. The thing I told you already about the chords. It's part of music theory. So the first thing that I did to the song was to add chords.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे.
So now you can see we have added the element of music. Now I'm going to add ambience. So for ambience, I'm going to use a path. So here comes my path. This is going to give it a more, it will make it more fuller technically. We'll have, it might sound a bit heavier now with the help of paths.
किस तरह से तोड़ा.
Now I'll make you listen the paths. Now see, this sounds, these are like ambience with a chord.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा किस तरह से किस तरह से.
Now when the song proceeds, so this is going to be the arrangement. This is the intro of my song. So how I'm starting this song?
किस तरह से.
So the song is coming with the music. Some songs they have an intro pieces. It might come with a piece, then the vocals might come. But in this case, the song is coming initially. It starts with the song. So let me play it again. Now I'm going to add some percussions. What are percussions? These are basically rhythm-oriented instruments, like a tambourine. You all might have heard about this tambourine. Now I have more tambourine over here. A tambourine with a delay. So I'll show you. This is a bit more technical, but still you should have a look over it. I'll just turn this off. You see, it plays it one time. 1, 2, 2, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now when I add this delay, this will add a rhythmic texture and a pattern to this. See, it's making it sound more rhythmic. So after adding all this element,
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा वादा है मेरा वापस ना आऊंगा पर इतना वादा भूलूं तुमको
so now I'll add, I want some effects. So these are under effect, like in videos we have transitional effects. Same thing goes with the audio. We have transitional effects like that. The first effects that I'm going to use here, I'll show you the effect. Now this is a transitional effect. It's a cymbal transition, and I've also got it's like a shaker transition and one more shaker transition. So I'll play with all the transitions now.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा वादा है मेरा वापस ना आऊंगा वादा है मेरा वापस ना वादा
Then moving towards the chorus section. So here we have the chorus section. So chorus, this is the intro part of the song, and this is the chorus part of the song. So this is supposed to be heavy because this is the main part of the song. So if a song is not specific with this arrangement, some song will have a different arrangement, some song will have a different arrangement. This song might have some different arrangement as compared to some different kind of songs. So in this case, this is going to be the chorus of the song where all the elements, rhythm elements is supposed to come. So I'll play.
बिन आपके जिए तो जिए कैसे हाय
So this song had a vibe. This was supposed to be made in an Indian way. So what are the things I started? I start always with my rhythm section. I'll break it down from rhythm section to the melody section. So I have a kick. Now I wanted to have a rhythm feel, so I added a dholak with this. See? Starts to add grooving. Now I add a clap with it. Now I'll add a shakers with it. We are also going to have some tabla fills over here. Now I'm also going to add more percussions to it. And I'll add a bass line. So this is the bass line. See, now I'm going to add the addition of all the rhythm section I have. Now I'm going to add my chords. Now I add some guitar. Now the pads and everything together, it will sound like that. See, now we have done with the arrangement. Now these are the arrangement section going on, intro, the chorus, and outro. So the rhythm, this song was supposed to have the rhythm continuously. So this is the production, music production. This is called music production. But it's not completed. Why? Because it does not sound, it does not have a very professional vibe. It sounds decent, but it's not sounding very charming. It's not very pleasant to my ears. I cannot hear the vocal. I don't. It sounds very simple, very neutral. It's like simple. So now I'll show you some other concept of this. Let's go. So now we have what we are going to do it. We are going to mix this. What does mixing means? We are going to make them sound good, make them sound bright, make them sound wide, and all together as one. For this, there are going to be n number of tools that we generally use in mixing. But the main basic tools like EQ, that's called equalization. We could shape our sounds. We could clear out the low end, mid end, high end, to make it sound more good. We're going to use compressor. The compressor itself is a very big topic. Basically, if I talk in general terms, what compressor is going to do, it's going to even out the music. For specifically talking, compressor controls dynamics. And what is dynamics? Dynamics is the difference between the lowest and the highest volume. So if I'm talking like this and I'm talking like this, so this is a difference called dynamics. So what does a compressor does? It just squeezes it and make it more consistent. So I'm listening it, I should have a consistent. As a result of which sound will have more depth, more characteristics, it will sound more wide, and it will sound kind of rich. So that's what we are looking for. We are going to add some reverb. Reverb is going to give our sound a space. It would sound more bright, more ambient, kind of. So now I'm going to take you back again to the project. So this is the vocals. Sounds very simple.
किस तरह से तोड़ा
Here comes my first equalizer. Now I'm using a FAB filter 453. This equalizer I'm going to use.
किस तरह से तोड़ा
You see a lot of dips over here.
फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा
I turn it
किस
up.
तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से
So
जुड़
what does this does? It eliminates a lot of noises and the sound. Those are not pleasant. And then after that, what I'm going to use? I'm going to use a multi-band compressor here.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा.
So just lightly, it's not overdoing anything. Then I'm adding a compressor. Now this compressor is working very heavily. Generally, I do not use a compressor which is compressing a very heavy data, but this one is going to compress a very heavy data.
किस तरह से तोड़ा
Around -10, it's compressing around 10 dBs.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा.
So what this compressor is doing, it's making it sound even.
किस तरह से तोड़ा
You
मुझे
see, it sounds more tighter, has more characteristics. And I am adding one more compressor. This is called serial compression.
किस तरह
Not a very big compression happening here. Just the tips.
फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा.
Now I'm going to use an EQ to brighten it out.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे.
Now this vocals were not recorded with a very high-end microphones, so we have to work accordingly. So the microphones plays a very important role. So definitely you have to work accordingly, and this cannot be very specific. Like you cannot copy my settings and apply on your audio song. You have to make it. These all are customized according to the song. And for now comes my all the reverb settings. So these are my reverb that I'm using. So I'll make you listen just the reverb. Now we're together.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे.
Dry.
किस तरह से
Wet signal.
किस तरह से.
One more reverb. This is the delay basically. Now this is also the reverb.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे.
And comes the delay. So I'm using three effects. one delay, two reverbs. So I'm sending them through a bus.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा.
So now if I turn this off and I turn this on, you'll see a difference.
किस तरह से
You see?
तोड़ा
Now with
मुझे
reverb and delay and compressor and
जुड़
EQ,
न पाऊंगा.
now overall song.
किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा. किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा.
That is called mixing, making it sound good. And this has not supposed to work just with the vocals. It has supposed to work with everything. The bass, the kick, the claps, everything is need to be gelled, need to be glued. All should stick around it. This is called basically mixing, sound engineering. So I'm doing it in a very short, but they all are individually very big topics. EQ is a very big topic in itself. Compressors are big topic in themselves. Reverb, delay, all kind of plugins that you use. They all are independently very in-depth plugins, and they are supposed you have to master them in order to achieve the best, the finest out of them. They are going to be settings that makes it sound more fascinating. But I'm going to take it, give you an overview about it. Now coming to the chorus section, now you could listen.
तो जिए कैसे बिन आपके. जिए तो जिए कैसे हाय बिन आपके. लगता नहीं दिल कहीं बिन आपके. जिए तो जिए कैसे हाय बिन आपके. आंखें बंद करता हूँ तो याद तेरी आती है. आंखें बंद करता हूँ तो याद तेरी आती है. तू कहीं दूर है ये मुझको बताती है.
Okay, so this is mixing. We mix each and everything. So we could do drastic changes also to our sounds to mix it better. Then after mixing, what happens? Mixing is a stage where we work on individual items. I can work individually vocals, piano, guitar, maybe kick, maybe snare, anything. I could work individually. But what happens in mastering? Mastering is like cumulative mixing. Basically, if I talk in a very layman language, it's like you're working on a single sound. So in this case, generally what happens, a mastering engineer is different from a mixing engineer. But in this case, I'll break it down how a mastering engineer would have worked on this. So they might have exported this whole file and send it to a mixed version, and the mastering engineer will proceed it from there. So he won't change it, he'll proceed it from there. So what will happen? Mastering is basically loudness. It's a battle of loudness. How it should sound like, for an example, if you are listening to a song on a Spotify or a YouTube or Apple Music, iTunes, anywhere, the first song plays and the second song comes. You see, they all are hitting at a right level, same level. Like you're listening to a song, for example, if it's not working like that, you're listening to a song at a good volume and it's sounding audible to you. The next song suddenly comes and it's very low in level. You have to change the volume. And the next song comes, it's over loud. Then you have to decrease the volume. So what? This variations in different, the loudness in different songs. They want it to match it to a similar level. That's why all the streaming websites have some similar algorithms. They work. They basically call it LUFS, loud unit, full scale. They're supposed to be like minus 40 for an example. That is going to be the LUFS, or maybe minus 1 dB, the overall loudness, the peak loudness. So basic concept of mastering, if I talk in a layman term, is basically loudness. It's all about loudness, how loud it should sound. So now the song is not very loud. If you look at a meter here that I'm having, I'll show you. I put a model. level meter. Says. See, I'm working on -12. Generally, they say mixing level should be around -60. You should not cross about that. That's what the idea behind the mixing. It should not cross beyond this -60. That's the concept behind that. So from there, the mastering engineer proceeds. So if I give you a short overview, so that's how it's going to sound now. You see the difference? Now that is what is mastering. You see the difference? So all the concepts that we have done in mixing some of the concepts apply also on mastering. So the key thing in a mastering situation is you have to go for the limiting. So limiting is basically bring up the loudness. So in this case, this is a limiter. So I've got a ceiling of -1 dB, and this is the gain. I could gain it. So this is the plugin that is giving it loudness. And I'm using a multi-band compressor. Now here the chain might be different for other people also. I prefer using a multi-band compressor over any other saturation or other plugins. It's basically how you are going to mold the sounds. And I'm using an Ozone. Now how I'm using an Ozone. Ozone is also an AI-based, automatic-based mastering software. But in my case, how I'm using it, I'm using the equalizers of Ozone. The EQ. Now, why I'm using the EQ from Ozone? Because I'm using a match EQ feature inside this. With the help of a reference, now it's matching the EQ accordingly. Then what I'm using a dynamic EQ is similar to a multi-band compressor. And then what I'm using an imager. Imager. So see, this is the image of my song. So this is my imager, and then comes the limit. आंखें बंद कर किस तरह से तोड़ा मुझे फिर से जुड़ न पाऊंगा किस तरह से. And one more thing that is very important, whenever you are recording, you're supposed to have your signal below -12 dB. That's where your level are supposed to be. But in my case, I prefer using a different setting. I prefer it recorded -6 dB, but in general, it's supposed to be, technically, they prefer recording it at -12 dB. So they can have more headroom. See my loudness. Not even -12, it's touching. Okay. वादा है मेरा वापस ना आऊंगा वादा है मेरा. See, that's how I prefer recording -12 dB. You should keep headroom. Why to keep headroom? Because when we are going to add all these plugins, definitely a signal is going to change. It's going to get more processed, so we will have more headroom. Like this is the headroom, so I could work inside this headroom later on and make my sound more better, or maybe make it sound good, maybe make it sound different, maybe make it sound clean. So that's the way I'm going to work on it. That's the way I'm going to approach it. So this was the basic project. I've shown you the breakthrough of the project, how this project started and everything. So you could see. So now I'll show you one more concept of mixing in the project. Let me open a project. So the basic idea behind mixing is to make it sound more professional. So the basic concept is to make it sound more professional. So now let me take you to a other song, a different song. Now this song, so this is a pop song. Just putting my chain. Okay. So now this is an English song. So I'll make you listen to the song first. And turn up everything.
What does it mean? Is it holding your hands and rocking openly? What does it mean? What does it lying on the couch?
You can see how this song is very basic. So how from where I started, this is called a pitch correction. People also call it auto-tune.
What does it mean?
So this is to create an achieve an effect like we have vocals like we could hear this kind of vocals in R&B and all of this stuff. So this is how now see the vocals dry, now vocals processed.
What does it mean? Is it holding your hands and rocking openly?
You see, you could see the difference.
Openly. What does it mean? Is it lying on the couch and making you scream? Scream. Mama, mama, what a nasty dream. Oh, mama, mama, what a nasty.
Dry vocals.
Oh, mama, mama, what a nasty dream. Oh, mama, mama. You can be, you can be, you can make it be hard. You can be, you can be, you can.
So you can see so how the vocals have drastically changed.
What does it mean?
So now this is called mixing. So I'm doing a lot of processing in this vocals. You see, I have a gate, I have an REQ, an R compressor.
What does it mean?
This is Logic's inbuilt pitch correction software. So I could also make it listen effect. Yeah, let's see. So if I solo this vocals. So the more fast this is,
What does it mean?
the more auto-tune-ish effect you'll find.
Is it
More slow is, more the effect you'll find out. So for in my case, I prefer to use a 40 millisecond setting, which is quite fast.
What does it mean? What does it mean? Is it holding your hand? Dream. Mama.
Let's see, this is the elements of my music production. See, this is a future based cell. This So basically, these are the concepts behind mixing and mastering. So, how do we set up a basic home studio? That I've already told you. You need to have a computer. You need to have a DAW. That is your software. To whichever way. It can be Cubase, it can be Ableton, it can be Logic, it can be. That doesn't matter. And other than that, you should have an audio interface. And an audio interface is to connect everything: the microphone, the speakers from, and the headphones, from where the sound is going to come out, and from where the sound source is going to get inside. And other than that, we need to have some sets of plugins. Although it's not mandatory. The plugins are not mandatory. All the software generally comes with all the plugins like Reverb, like delay, and all the stuff. So what do you have to look for are the plugins, and other than that, you have to have your DAW and a good computer working. Like a good computer, if I talk about at least i5 with a 9th generation processing, or with around a 16 GB RAM, and you should have definitely. I prefer SSD over HDD because your Windows, or if you're working on your OS, they are going to boot very fast. So as a result of it, you will have a better workflow. But these all things are subjective. It's very up to you how much budget you have and how much do you want to invest in that. Other than that, you should have your music knowledge, music theory knowledge that I was talking about, the scales and the rhythms. You start everything from music with the chords and everything. So when you have chords, you have rhythm, you combine both of them with all the melody elements and the music instruments with some sound effects, you'll get a complete song. Vocal is also part of melody. They are supposed to be also inside a specific set of scales. So that is also very necessary. And once you record your vocals, you construct the music over it, you arrange it. To arrange it accordingly. Like for an example, I'll describe you the arrangement style. For example. So for an example, the song is supposed to have an intro. Now, the intro has something very signature, some sounds that are going to be very common. Like if you listen to many songs, they have some intro part, and those are going to be throughout that song. And then comes the verse section, where the singer is going to sing with some lyrics, and then it moves to the chorus section. Now the chorus section is the main section, the main powerful section, and it's going to repeat again in the song. There can be one chorus, then again the same. The chorus melody is going to be the same, just like the verse melody. Now you'll have in some songs you'll specifically find a bridge section. Now bridge is something that connects two different parts together. That's why it's called a bridge. You can have a bridge section. So with a combination of all this section, you can have verse 1, verse 2, verse 3. That's going to totally depend on your song. And you should, of course, different genres, different style of music. Like you're producing a hip hop beat or an R&B, or maybe you are producing something in an electronic genre, maybe a future pop, or maybe a future bass, or maybe a bass house. There are a lot of genres. Huh? At the end of the day, they all are music. You could easily sketch them out, understand the structure of them, and go through all of them. Recording music also, you need to be very careful about it when you're recording your music. Often, generally, we talk about recording, we are talking about the source, like through a microphone. So your microphone needs to be good, your room needs to be very clean. There should be no reverb in your room. No, you know what's a reverb? It's caused by the reflection. So if you find yourself having a lot of reverb in your room, so maybe you could dampen them with the help of some sound acoustics, so that there's no more repetition of sound, or looping of sound, or basically that's caused. Reverb is caused by the irregular reflection. Sound is coming from a point A, that's like right now I'm talking. The sound is coming from the front source, it's reflecting from back, it's reflecting to right and left. So some sound might come early, some sound might come late. That's called irregular reflection. As a result of which we'll get a reverb in your room. Not a lot of reverb. Some room might have a lot of reverb. If it's an empty room, there are going to be a lot of reflection points. But if your room have some stuff over there, some sound might get diffused, some might get absorbed. If you have some beds or sofas around there, some sound might also get absorbed. So recording, you also need to know -6 dB. You have to obviously, generally it's -12 dB, but I personally sometimes keep it around -6 dB. But some if you go -12 dB. And mixing, I've made you understood what does mixing does. So this is a very important thing. See, mixing and mastering is like one of the most important thing, and creating your whole song, the complete music production. Because without mixing, you won't get a rich sound. It might sound decent, but it might not sound great. Getting it? So you need to understand the concepts of mixing with the help of PQ, compressors, and your PQ makes it sound more clean, compressor makes it sound more tighter, and reverb will add some vibe to it, ambience to it. It will give it a space. Definitely good. And when you complete your track and when you are mixing your track, some suggestion tips that I'll say, you should listen them on different environments. You should listen them in different environments, as well as you should also compare with different songs also, because that is also very necessary, because the songs that are already out in the market, they are professionally produced. Those tracks are already been released and they have a standard. So you should try to compare your track with the other tracks so that you could find the difference. Where am I standing? Is my kick generally you should take the song. Just find a reference track which is very similar to your track. Maybe have the same vibe. So it might have a same. So you should check out your kick level, your snare level, your hi-hat level, how they're going to sound. So as a result of it, you could try to get a good mix out of it. Although it's a very big topic about, if I specifically talk about mixing, but that's the gist of it that I'm going to. And comes a mastering. Now, talking about mastering, I've already told, I've already told you, it will add clarity and brilliance to your music, as well as the loudness. There's a standard loudness we talk about. Like Spotify has some certain specific loudness, LUFS, and iTunes might have a different loudness as compared to the YouTube. So you have to understand you are covering all the different loudness meter here. And you can also, if you're a beginner and you feel struggle and if you're not able to do good mastering, maybe you could take the help of some websites like Lander, or maybe with a software like Ozone from Microsoft. It's a very powerful and very easy AI based mastering software. And I've gone through the songwriting process also. Songwriting is a very different process. It's like writing your own song. So when you're producing your music, so songwriting is also going to be a process. Other than that, I'm going to help you out with like where how is this music production is going to help you out, where you can work with this music production, jobs for music production, or future of music producer. Future of music producers. Career, what career you can have. Now see, now this is a very big opportunity. Like for an example, if I currently talk about the gaming industry is on a boom, the technology is booming. So if you look at all the game companies and all, they have something called sound designers. And by sound designer, what they means is basically someone who's going to create music for them, for the games. If you look at games, we are going to have some BGMs. BGMs is also called background music, but in game department we call it sound design. So we have sound designing, like walking sound is part of sound designing. Foley, you can also call them Foley. Foley is very specific. Sound designing is broad. Foley is just the footsteps you hear, the sound of rain. But sound designing is complete the complete environment we're talking about. So you can go in sound designing. You can work as a sound designer in gaming companies, in gaming firms, gaming places, and you can do music for short films. Now you see music for short films. Like right now, the OTT is on boom. Except we know about Netflix, Amazon, and other than that, there are a lot of short films. People are shooting them everywhere. So you can work on short films also. Other than that, you can work on as a jingle producer. Now, what's a jingle producer? Jingle producer, basically the ad songs, the radio songs that you use for an ad. Those are called jingle. So you could be a jingle producer. You can compose and make music for jingles, for this art films and radio stations. So basically, radio stations have a spot for jingle producers. Other than that, you could set up your own production house. You can have your own music production house. So now these industries are very broad. Other than that, now these podcasts are also very trending. So mostly, if you look at generally, every big organization has a podcasting studios. Podcasting studios. So if I talk about big firms like Microsoft, for an example, or maybe in Apple, everyone will have a podcast station of their own. Nowadays, it's very trending. So everyone has a podcast. People abroad there, they listen to a lot of podcasts. So you can work at a podcasting studio. So how can you even work at a podcasting studio as sound editor? So podcasting have a lot of work of sound editing because they does not have a lot of music work, but they have sound editing work like cleaning the vocals, which is part of mixing. Cleaning the vocals and making it sound more bright, more fuller, more professional. So generally recording they won't be very professional and very clean, but because the podcast they are not generally recorded at a very good environment. Sometimes they are recorded outdoors, so you'll have a lot of noises. So you can work at podcasting studios. So these are the places where you could figure out yourself working. And other than see, I'm not put down this Bollywood and other thing because that's those things you already know. Those things are very common with everyone. And in fact, some of the schools nowadays they have schools also have school recording studios. School recording studios. School also have recording studios nowadays. School recording studio as well as because schools also are now producing, so there are good schools, they have recording studio. You can work as a recording studio as a recording engineer over there. Not only recording, you could also produce music for the school. So this is the area where you can work. So I hope with the help of this seminar you're able to understand what all what is all about music production. What is production? You hear music everywhere, from ads, from radio ads, from movies. Anyway, you watch, you open your mobile phone, you just press a button, click. That's also sound. Yeah, that's part of sound design. That's also sound. You click an app, you open it, and every game that open has some kind of music. So it's all everywhere. And for according to me, it's like booming right now, and it's going to go up. Other than that, you have a lot of hip hop producers, all that freelance producer. You can work as a freelance producer for different artists. So now speaking about music production, it's all about how you produce a song from scratch, from composing to arranging to recording to mixing and mastering. All stages are comprises. What's a song? How do you make the song? What are the concepts behind the song? So the first thing that you should know is like music theory that I already told you about music theory. Without the help of music theory, it's going to be very difficult to produce a music. So it's good you should have a knowledge of music theory, and that comprises of all the scales and rhythmic section. And other than that, sound engineering, I told you already, it comprises of mixing and mastering. So if we go through different projects, uh, for example, I'll show you one more project.
Right. So thank you so much. It was such a wonderful and very, very energetic show, I must say. And you have even taken us to the emotions of the songs by changing the pitch and all that you were showing
Yeah.
to the candidates. So how is it? Is it a very technical thing and only a technical information is needed?
No. Actually, to be honest, like I've been teaching throughout this years, most of the students, 80% of the students that I have taught, they never had a music background. And I've taught a student from 3 months to a 1 year course. And without any knowledge, a student has been able to understand theory, all the technical stuff and everything, and it's become a complete producer inside 6 months. So it's not very technical. It's like experience. Over the period of time, the more you practice, the more you work, the more exposure you get. It's all about experience.
Any way you'd like to suggest to the candidates? I'm sure anyone, I'm sure there's no one who doesn't like music. So
Yeah.
anyone who wants to make career in music must have a little more passion towards the production of music production than a layman who's just a music lover. So what is your hint to judge whether I, as a person, can be a music composer or no? Is there a criteria or something that distinguish?
No, it's a very subjective thing, because nowadays the technology have changed a lot. You cannot have a very classical approach like you're working, you should have technical and theoretical knowledge. It's not necessary. Yes, you should have it, but nowadays it's changed. Composing is like art. Everyone can compose it. It's inside us. But the thing is, like music production says how to portray it, how to picture it, and how to construct it, and later on how to mix and master it to create a final product. So it's not necessarily anyone can compose accordingly.
Anyone can compose, and I'm also going to try my luck on this composing thing. So let's see.
Definitely.
Well, I really like your mixing. It's really wonderful. Very, very touching the soul kind of thing was coming. So I was like, I didn't want to get emotional with the beats of the song and with the lyrics. So, but otherwise, it was really a wonderful session. We really enjoyed it, thoroughly loved it, and I'm sure that was the reaction of the audience as well. And now proceeding further, I'd like to mention about tomorrow's session that we have it with TGC. Yes, again, TGC is coming up with one more session tomorrow, and will be informing you all about this one program. Now, for this session, thank you so much, sir. You have done a wonderful job. I
Thank you so
personally
much.
loved your workshop. It's
Thank
really
you so
wonderful.
much.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much, everybody. Take care of yourself, and we'll all see you tomorrow for another session to prepare you for MECAT, Media and Entertainment Creative Aptitude Test, and with TGC. Thank you, TGC, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
See you.
Bye bye, sir.
Bye.
Thank you.